take a trip from the 15th century to modern day and learn a little bit about how written communication has evolved throughout the years. We all write notes, type emails, and send text messages, but communicating in this way is not always possible. So, for this speech, we hope to inform you on how we came to this stage in written communication. Because of the peace and decline in famine, the world began to become more prosperous in the mid 15th century. With prosperity came the increase of literacy. There was a reliance on business and government, but there was no cheap method of reproducing written language. There are no cell phones, no computers, there are not even widely produced books, until the Gutenberg printing press. Let's fast forward a few centuries into 1860 America. Books are extremely widespread, but instant communication was unheard of. Living on the East Coast, but want to communicate with someone on the West? Good luck. That is until the Pony Express. The Pony Express again transformed written communication by allowing for people from all over the United States to communicate with one another in 10 days or less. This was a huge improvement at the time, but can you imagine communicating only by writing letters? Neither could a group of 4 men in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so just 8 years later, they invented the typewriter. This became popular for the office in the mid-1880s and allowed communication to happen not just by writing, but also by typing, which could be done more efficiently. Just less than 1 century after the typewriter became widespread, email became an instant form of written communication, which we all still use today. As we take you on a trip from the 15th century to modern day, we hope to inform you on how written communication has evolved in correlation with society. Throughout researching the Gutenberg printing press, the Pony Express, the typewriter, and email, we've gained a full picture of written communication throughout the ages that we will share with you so you can better understand how we now are able to communicate instantly with one another. Imagine being across the country from a family member or friend and having to contact them. Odds are you just thought about your phone. Think about not having a phone or computer. It's 1860 and the first telegraph was sent 29 years ago. The first long-distance electric telephone line was constructed 18 years ago. The world got things done at a snail's pace compared to the rate nowadays. Communication was slow, especially if you had to communicate long distance. This is where the Pony Express came in. Up until its fruition, there was no fast way to communicate from the eastern United States to the western United States. But thanks to the Pony Express, people could communicate from 1,800 miles away in just 10 days. This sounds like nothing to us, but back then, it was the best way of going about sending mail across continent. And it has become a milestone in the advancement of written communication in the United States. The central idea of this speech is that the Pony Express was important in connecting the eastern United States to the western United States before the telegraph solidified itself as a more efficient means of communication. First, I will briefly cover the Pony Express and what it is. Then I will look at what it has accomplished for the American people during the time and what it meant for the world of written communication. To start, let's get an idea of what the Pony Express was. It was a postal service that delivered newspapers, messages, and mail. The service was created by 3 men by the names of Alexander Majors, William B. Waddell, and William H. Russell in 1860. This operation ran from Missouri to California throughout changing landscapes from mountains to deserts and everything in between, spanning 1,800 miles. The way it worked, men would ride from station to station without stopping for anything. As stated in Scholastic News, at a station, a rider got the mail, he put it in a bag on his horse, then they were off. There was no time to waste, as the whole point of the operation was to deliver mail as quickly as possible across continent. Stations were useful to riders as they could stop at these stations along their routes when their horses got tired, in which case the rider would take his bag from the tired horse and put it on a rested horse and continue on his journey. Another thing he could do was rest himself, but this didn't slow the process as he would give his bag to a rested rider, who would then continue the relay. This relay wasn't against another team, but rather against the clock. The whole route would be completed in what at the time was an incredible feat of just 10 days. The Pony Express would only last a little over a year as advancements in the telegraph were made and came into popular use. According to the National Park Service, on June 16, 1860, about 10 days after the Pony Express began operations, Congress authorized a bill instructing the Secretary of Treasury to subsidize the building of a transcontinental telegraph line to connect the Missouri River to the Pacific coast. This spelled imminent doom for the Pony Express, but it filled an important void in communication during its operation. Next, I'd like to talk about the mark the Pony Express left on American history and written communication. Many people still remember the Pony Express today because of its incredible story. It's a story of American can-doism, and it is a short firecracker of American spirit, whose blast still reverberates in the ears of historians to this day. As far as written communication goes, it was a huge moment in time. The fact that someone could mail a letter nearly 2,000 miles in 10 days was miraculous at the time. If it wasn't for the Pony Express connecting the East to the West, the United States could have very well split into two separate entities due to the lack of communication. But the Pony Express was a service that acted as a glue for the United States, and its place in written communication is very much solidified. In conclusion, it may not have been the longest lasting operation, but it was pivotal in the history of the United States, and it was a milestone in the advancement of written communication. Because of its grit, efficiency, and speed, it connected the United States during a time when it was difficult yet necessary to communicate cross-continent, and we are indebted to the brave men and women who made it possible.